Don't worry, Contep, there's no evil lightning mage to ruin your day this time. And in fact, this video is not even about you. It's about these boys right here, the Snek Knights. Yes, indeed, Necropolis Knights. These are just the, I guess, lance variant, if you can call their little spear they're holding a lance. Just the standard variant, and today this is from Zach Wade, aka Red Salamander, up against Way, both of which are friends of the channel, so always happy to cast a game between them. Way coming in with Bretonnia. Let's take a look first, though, at Red Salamander's Tomb Kings. We've got, Kotep on his Roomba, a couple Screaming Skull Catapults, Skeleton Spearmen, Tomb Guard up front. We've got Skeleton Warriors, a couple of Neakara Horsemen, a couple of Skeleton Horsemen, and aforementioned Necropolis Knights. Just quickly to talk a little bit about these guys, they're similar to other monstrous cavalry like the Stag Knights or Demigryph Knights, although they are very heavily armored. They have not as good a charge as those other units I just mentioned, only 52 charge, but 61 weapon strength, and they do have poison, which is quite nice. Of course, also undead means they're basically unbreakable. For Bretonnia, we've got 3 Field Trebuchets, Wild Pick, we've got a couple of Peasant Mobs here, the Peasant Bowmen, the Men-at-Arms getting savaged by the Caskets, and the Screaming Skulls. Of course, Screaming Skulls do leadership damage, so that's quite nice. But a couple of Knights Errant here, and Companions of Quenelle to countercharge in. Lewin also drops down. There's, a couple Carrions running out to go after those Trebuchets, and of course, Lore of Life, Damsel. I believe this battle was actually played before I even recorded and uploaded that Lightning Uranus Thunderbolt video, but anyway, the Tomb Guard are definitely taking a beating from the Trebuchets there, but all the meanwhile, the artillery for the Tomb Kings is planking away, and now the role of the Necropolis Knights in this particular build is to act as kind of the counterpunch, to plug the gaps wherever the Bretonians start to break through, allow the artillery to really get some work done, and you can see the Screaming Skulls are great for just routing these units off and keeping them routed. In the meanwhile, these Trebuchets, the Peasant Mobs are doing an admirable job attempting to defend, although they probably will lose. Carrion have 40 weapon strength, and actually 26 attack, 46 melee defense too. Carrion are surprisingly hard to kill for a low-tier unit like this, so this is what everyone wants to see. Let's quickly focus on that, and not for too long, get back over to the main battle. The Roomba Lord Kotep Skit. Let's go with that. Kotep Skit here is in severe danger, getting gooned by Lewin, Sword of Corone active. The Trebuchet is also firing point blank, but here come the Snek Knights. They're going to do exactly what they were meant to and push Lewin back here. Probably countercharge into these Knights as well if he's able to escape. But one thing about Necropolis Knights, because they have poison, they can debuff, like this in particular, a flying unit, a monster especially, that comes down to the ground. The poison and the mass here, you see how they kind of pin him in, and I don't know if they have like a really high stagger chance on their attacks, but they seem to be able to stagger lock lords pretty well. Also, just in terms of like mass, I think they have more mass than Demigryph Knights or Stag Knights. I need to do some testing to really figure out, but a potentially nasty rear charge here from Companions of Quenelle. They're going to get in here, Necropolis Knights immediately. Red Salamander responds correctly with that incantation of protection, getting some nice physical resistance there on those Necropolis Knights. Companions do get a regrowth as they pull back, but a little bit of a Skull Storm ripping through the lines, very nicely done. DJ Kotep throwing down the Sandstorm, and you can see Lewin really hasn't been able to operate to try and get at Kotep, other than that initial strike where he, granted, did a considerable amount of HP damage, hasn't been able to do much, and the Companions, despite the regrowth there, are just not really performing. Now, granted, there are Skeleton Horsemen out to the 4 winds, and the Skeletons in general are doing a good job being active, chasing these routing Men-at-Arms tier units around. One fun fact, too, I know the fire arrows are pretty good in this matchup. Most Tomb King's Lords are weak to fire damage. Kotep is the exception, though. In fact, all Tomb King's Lords and Heroes, I'm not sure if the Lich Priests do, but I know for sure Kotep does not have the weakness to fire. He's not actually a mummy like everyone else. I think he's technically still alive. Technically. Even though he counts as undead. Anyway, you lore nerds will have to fill me in on that. But a nice Realm of Souls here. Lewin dropping down again. He's going to be mostly stagger locked by these Necropolis Knights. Incantation of Cursed Blades, too, putting them up to 76 weapon damage. Just doing some really nice kind of circle beating of Lewin there. And the Cav for Bretonnia, credit to Zach playing an active defense here. A lot of people, when they have this artillery focus build, will play like way too close to their artillery, whereas Zach has been sending units out kind of across the battlefield, taking out the trebuchets with the carrion eventually, which is absolutely awesome, super cost effective for them, and playing forward with his horsemen as well. Like, that's exactly what you want to do when you have an artillery build. You don't want to play too close. You want to try and play active defense, create some spacing, so your artillery has time to get the work done that it needs to. And it has got some work done. You can see both Screaming Skull catapults. I guess one of them almost out of ammo. The other one's had a little bit of a tough time. Even one piece has been destroyed, probably by archers, I would imagine. But the Roomba Lord still online. Ushabti summon gets pulled up to make sure the Cavs stay kind of zoned there. Lewin dives in once again. I think he dives directly on the Necropolis Knights, which is the right answer. That way they can't countercharge on the ground and get their charge bonus. But another Incantation of Protection, another Incantation of Cursed Blades as well. No Overcast for extra anti-large, which would be nice in this circumstance, but it is what it is. But can Lewin get back up in the air is the question. Hit there. You see the poison refreshes. He's actually going to charge these Tomb Guard. That's the right move, to try and punch through them and then pull through, get back up into the air. We'll see. It looks like he gets caught up, maybe doing some attack animations. Both players kind of resetting their lines here. Bretonnians pulling back. Still got some trebuchet ammo left, so they're going to try and take advantage of that. But the Kotep Kotepsket here, just raining all kinds of... I don't even know. I was going to say fire. I'm sure it's not fire. I don't even want to know what it is. Probably just like yeeting a collection of bones out of the casket. I don't know. What is the actual projectile of the casket, other than being a, you know, kind of blue glowy thing like this? What is that, even? Who knows? Not me. But as it is right now, this is, again, we see kind of the example of the Necropolis Knights being able to pin Lewin in here, does not allow him back up in the air to escape. So that consistent poison, the consistent hits, the way they kind of get a nice surround, very cool looking unit, probably one of the coolest looking units in terms of monstrous cavalry in the game. The Scaly Boys riding the top, not my favorite design in the world, but the snakes, especially the way they move, is so cool, man. Their big old death faces, yes. Awesome, awesome unit. And in the realm of monstrous heavy cavalry, they're definitely one that you should always consider. I will say, the halberd variant is pretty terrible. Just not cost effective. I would basically only ever recommend the lance variant, but even just as it is right now, 0 kills, 2100 damage value from going after Lewin there. Oh man, and look at that! Lewin gets beamed in the face by the... Oh man, and another one! Wow, that Screaming Skull crew. I don't know, undead tokens for them. I don't know. I don't think the Tomb Kings actually have money, right? In their campaign, they kind of don't. So I'm sure they're not getting paid. But extra bone marrow rations for them. I don't know. Whatever you want to make up in your head. Rewards for the skeleton crews. For the skeleton catapult, the Screaming Skulls. Here come the Necropolis Knights for the final counter punch here. Pushing Lewin away. And Lewin goes down here. The rest of the Bretonnian forces are going to want to rout. The trebuchets are back online, trying their best to chew away at these Tomb Guard, and they're doing some okay damage, but trebuchets, their accuracy is so bad, they actually pretty rarely pay for themselves, even if they have a good amount of time to kind of free fire. I don't know. They can be a pretty good option, but I really think they need still a little bit of an accuracy buff. That's true of a lot of catapult-type artillery, in my opinion. But, yeah, 3 clean whiffs there. And Lewin, poor Lewin, just having the hardest time against these Sneck Knights in their charge animation. Just poke, poke, prod, prod, punch, and... Oh, he does get away. How about that? He does, in fact, get away there. Yeah, wow, look at those Skeleton Warriors coming back from the Shadow Realms to try and finish off some of those crews there. The Companions of Quenelle still alive, still cycle charging in the front line, but there's just plenty of spears, Tomb Guard. These Skeleton Horsemen can kind of keep annoying them as well as they disengage, or at least attempt to disengage here. We'll be taking some free hits. Eventually, Army Losses kicks in. And the Doomba, 182 kills. 2,487 damage value, only able to do that because of the protection of the Necropolis Knights, which again, 0 kills, but 2,600, almost 2,700 damage value purely from attacking Lewin. I guess they did have some engagement against the kind of Knights and stuff there briefly, but primarily just from going after Lewin, and that counter punch, I've talked about it before in various videos, but that counter chargeability, the counter punch of these monstrous cavalry sitting in a backline in a build like this, kind of protecting your artillery pieces, can be very, very powerful, especially when you have an artillery lord like Kotep that can act as a major distraction in Carnifex. And not only that, but also dishing out some serious damage there. Screaming Skulls also paid for themselves largely. Even just the outside of the damage, helping to keep all these Bretonnian units routed. Like, a lot of this kind of lower tier Bretonnian stuff really didn't do much. If we take a look at the skeletons, they actually traded decently, largely because of those leadership effects. Didn't really pay for themselves, but they're still nice and healthy, if you can call skeletons healthy. Anyway, the Carrions, though, absolute MVPs. They don't cost a lot, but for what little they do cost, being able to shut down those trebuchets and just kind of, not necessarily even fully shut them down, but just harass them, not allow them to really get free. That was pretty important for Wei. Lewin did a good amount of damage, but he just didn't quite have enough to punch through and get at this backline area. I mean, in hindsight here, obviously, I would say taking Lore of Heavens is probably a pretty good idea in this matchup for Bretonnia now with the Uranan's Thunderbolt. And even in a build like this, like, other than the Companions of Quenelle, you don't really have any targets worthy of healing. So you easily could just swap in, you know, Harmonic Convergence to give them a significant stat buff, and then instead also just bring Uranan's Thunderbolt to take out the Doomba. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. Like I said, this was played before I released that video about that specific interaction. So fun stuff. Peasant Archers, actually, some of them did okay. The Companions, yeah, had a little bit of a rough time. The Trebuchets, actually, one event almost paid for itself, but you see, even there, they just kind of struggle because of their accuracy to fully pay for themselves. So very fun stuff. Big thanks to Red Salamander for sending that one in. He runs, it seems like it hasn't been going on as much recently, but in general, very helpful guide to newer players. I definitely recommend any of you check out the NoobHammer Discord. He's quite active in there. At one point, he was hosting kind of organized practice sessions. I don't know. I don't think that's still going on, but I don't know. Maybe you guys can get something together there in the NoobHammer Discord, so be sure to check that out. Thanks again. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz. We'll see you next time.